Hey guys, it's Sid. Welcome back to College Journeys. We're going to be talking about internships. It's one of those things which I wish I had learned more about and someone had told me about when I was back in college. So I want to take this time to share some info with you that I think you'll find really helpful. Because there's a lot to unpack on this subject, I've broken it out into actually three different videos. The first one that you're watching right now will be explaining what an internship is from the point of view of someone that's gone through them and is working full time now. The second video will be how to actually land your dream internship if you're a college student right now. And the third will be once you get to your internship, things to do to really nail that internship experience. So what really is an internship? If you ask this question to a freshman or a sophomore in college, chances are that they'll mumble their way through their answer and fudge it. And I'm not being mean, guys, that's just the facts. It's kind of this ambiguous term that there's an air of internships and working when you're starting off college. So your friends are working at SpaceX, Google, Tesla, Facebook, GE, all these big names in their respective industries, but no one really knows what they're doing unless you've gone through an internship and you kind of understand what happens there. So the perception on the left-hand side of this chart is that it's just a regular job for a shorter time frame. It's an 8-week job and they give you this very specific task and you do an awesome job and you change the world. The reality is a little bit different, guys. So internships are recruiting tools. It's really important to get that in your head if you're in college right now. Internships are recruiting tools that HR, human resources, the people who hire at companies, use to see if there's a potential match for the candidate, the intern, and the company that they're working for, and vice versa. So the intern wants to see if that's a place where they would be happy and see themselves in the future after graduation. It's a great way for the intern to understand the basics of the corporate world. So how to use Excel, Word, how to communicate with people, how to set up meetings, and build connections, which is such a major part of it that just goes unsaid. When you intern, if you get the choice between doing an A+ job on the task you're assigned or networking with 30 people, I'd recommend networking with those 30 people because after you finish the internship, they're going to go back and get together and say, okay, guys, which interns do we want to hire? Which interns are memorable? And so you want to be one of those people that they remember. And we'll talk a bit more about this in the later video on what to do when you get to your internship. But this is a kind of thought process that you should be having as we go forward on these. And so the natural next step that comes up is figuring out when you should intern. When you're a freshman, you're not really going to have an easy time finding internships because, quite frankly, you don't know anything about your major. Some people do accept freshman interns that summer, but that's rare, so we're going to skip over that. Senior year is also out of the picture because you're looking for a full-time job. Some people do intern afterwards if they haven't quite found their niche where they're happy working. But in general, that's more of a time for looking for full-time jobs. And so that leaves sophomore and junior year. Traditional internships normally run the summer, the 3 or 4 months of the summer semester in between spring and fall. And so sophomore summer and junior summer are two key opportunities that you should be focusing on if you're in college to land an internship or at least have offers for. Maybe you might do research, you might take class, you might study abroad. We'll talk about that in different later videos, but you should try and get offers for these summers, if nothing else, for practice in going through the process. In addition to these, there's also spring and fall internships. I actually did a combined spring and summer internship, which is great because it gave me 7 months of consecutive working experience in different environments, and I got projects that were, I would say, way more meaningful than if I had only been working for 3 months. You guys, you have to remember that it takes about a month just to train you up and be able to do any work. The corporate compliance trainings for safety, all the HR trainings to make sure, anti-harassment and reporting, all these are required trainings that you need to go through wherever you work. OSHA, if you're going to be working on a factory floor, how to be safe. And so those take considerable time investment up front. So it's a month of training. So think about it, guys. You're training for a month. You have 2 or 3 months left, 2 months of work, and then the last month is just, networking, winding down, all the events that they have. So these are the time frames where you can intern. I would recommend interning at least twice during your college career. It just gives you more work experience, potentially try and work at different places, and be strategic about your internships. And we'll talk more about how to choose where to intern in the next segment of the video. which focuses on how to apply and get your dream internship. The small caveat I wanted to point out was the difference between internships and co-ops. On one hand, internships are 1 semester long, and so you start and you end and that's done. There's no further commitment. Whereas for co-ops, which stands for cooperative education, these span multiple rotations, multiple semesters. So you might work in the spring at a company, then do class, and then come back for the summer, different permutations of something like that. With internships, it allows you the opportunity to work at multiple companies before you graduate and see which ones you like. Whereas with co-ops, you're scheduled the rotations throughout your college years, and so the expectation is that you'll stay until you graduate. You can break the commitment, but it doesn't look great to only have 1 rotation on your co-op or 2 rotations. Internships are usually shorter, and so you get less meaningful projects because of time constraints, whereas co-ops are longer, and you definitely get more involved in technical projects. Regarding finance, internships do provide you a few months worth of money, but co-ops provide you more dependable source of income throughout your college career because you know that you have a spot waiting for you in certain semesters. My recommendation, guys, go for the internships. They allow you to switch between different companies. If you get through your first rotation at a co-op and you realize you don't like it, it's a little bit harder and trickier to maneuver yourself out of that, whereas an internship, you have no commitment, so you're free to hop over to a different industry, different company. And that is a wrap for part 1, guys. So we laid the foundation by going through what an internship is and why they exist. In the next video, we'll be going through some strategies for how you can select which companies to apply to, as well as some ways you can make sure that that offer letter comes through in your email. Looking forward to seeing you then. And as always, feel free to reach out with any questions or comments.